Welcome back to another episode of Black Space Project. It's been a while. So, we're going to get straight back onto the topic of these orbs. Not just what we call it the orb, I also call it the Sandman drone. Um, there's a description of it that is being picked up by TikTokers and YouTubers. I'm not going to say exactly what type of TikTokers and YouTubers. If you know, then you know. But the invisible entity, or just the entity, it's kind of understood that it's invisible because you really can't see an entity unless it manifests itself visibly. So, and I'm resisting the urge to yawn. The stretching is will prelude into it. Kind of wants me to change what I wanted to say, but I still know what I wanted to say because it's the only thing I wanted to say. This entity, we'll call it at this point because we have a better understanding of it now. Loki, that's another name for it. That's an ancient name for it, which is probably more accurate to describe one of its tricks that it plays to get people to go against each other. People that are easily tricked, manipulated, or just simply don't know. So, this entity, Loki, is a trickster. If two people are in a room and it has the ability to trick the other person to into thinking, the other person that is seemingly at that point minding their business, but there is something about that person that can be easily manipulated. Whether it be they gossip, listen to the things I tell you, they involve themselves or have involved themselves with gossip, slander, misinformation against a person. I'm not talking about the media type of. I'm talking about lying on someone, or the type of person that just likes to cause confusion. If they're guilty of those two things, I think I mentioned four things. Was that five? That was four because I didn't use my thumb. The fifth would be a person. I said drama. A war-minded type person that likes to just cause conflict for the hell of it. That's the type of person possibly it would target at first to get said person, him or her, to react to a situation that they believe in their mind actually happened at that point. Just because there's someone next to them and there's no other explanation other than they're being played with. And the person that's minding their business that doesn't even suspect that this is going on, doing nothing, absolutely nothing at all. And I've seen this personally and caught on to it. Just as the person that is being targeted is focusing something in which their focus and attention is almost tunnel visioned at what they're looking at, or is just outside of their peripheral vision to know the truth that the person next to them isn't doing anything at all. At that point, that's when this entity, Loki, goes into action. This entity, Loki, will project energy at this person's face or their eye, and they will feel it on their face and their eye, or their eye, thinking that it must be the person next to me, but they didn't see anything happening because they were either focused, tunnel visioned on something at the moment, or just out of sight of their peripheral vision. Now, I caught this type of action in action. How did I catch it? Because I am aware of it, because it was played against me by this entity called Loki. It was played against me. But since I know about it now and I suspect it and I caught it, it never bothers to do that anymore because I knew the truth. Those things don't happen. What happens at that point afterwards is that the targeted person by this entity, Loki, has projected this energy at their eye, face, nose, whatever the case is. They feel it. They automatically think the person next to them has done it, which is not true at all. Not true. When two people meet, they don't know each other. The person's behaving themselves. I'm talking about a typical scenario. I've witnessed it before. Because it tried to trick someone against me, a new person. We had never really barely talked. Let me explain my point of view of it. I'm sitting there, hands down, paying attention to whatever it is I'm paying attention to. My phone, my space, my area. And I notice irregular movements out of the person next to me. And just as my peripheral vision catches them wiping their face or their eye as if they're being agitated or aggravated, messed with, I understood exactly what was going on and why it was going on. And what the play was behind it, I could see it straight through to the end. So seeing that, I knew exactly if I had sat there long enough, the person would have been 100% convinced that it was me that was doing it. All because they were being tricked by something that's not understood or hardly known. All because of that. All because. So what I did was I removed myself from the environment because I knew exactly how things were going to play out from that point on. The person would have been 100% convinced that the person next to them, which happened to be me at the time, was a said trickster. But I knew better than to just sit there and allow something of an unknown that cannot be seen by both of us to do that. So I removed myself from the environment. So after removing myself from the environment, boom, the overwhelming convincing of that situation, that experience by that person, had them completely believing that I must have been the attacker. I must have been the initiator. I must have been the trickster, which I knew what was happening. But how do you explain this to someone? How do you explain this to someone? You make a video and you do it right now. Because this is something that I want you to go and test. I want you to go out and test this situation. When it's known by enough people, there will be less people that will be likely to fall into the situation of becoming the aggressor. Because they're thinking that other people around them are playing the card of trickster. When the true trickster is watching the both of us, watching when we're watching and paying attention to what we're paying attention to, and striking and causing confusion between the two people. I have seen it go back and forth before. And two people end up hating each other for no reason whatsoever, all because of this entity. And then things get started. I once put on this video, one of these videos, that this thing manipulates reality. That's another way of its ability to manipulate reality. The natural flow of things the way it's supposed to be, the way us humans are supposed to get along and be curious and talk to each other and learn from each other and just have a genuine human experience, it doesn't like that. As a matter of fact, it hates that. Now, yes, there is an agenda that plays out between the races. Yes. But the other races have to be nudged. They have to be unaware of their true intent to be here. They have to be unaware and think that their existence is completely normal and human, and that they're here just as we are here to live out life on this planet. But unbeknown to them, this isn't their true purpose. Their true purpose is to be manipulated to go against those that look like me. How does this tie into the Black Space Project? It goes back to ancient times. It goes back to said technologies that the indigenous have had in operation on this planet, and that there are interdimensional entities for some reason or another that we were probably unaware of at the time, that somehow invaded this planet, our space, our universe, our timeline, our reality, and manifested themselves another being using whatever methods they could, and did. And now we see the result of it today. Yes, it's that complicated and that simple at the same time. The more complicated something goes to a point, the easier it is to explain in a simplified term and understanding in a simplified term. Isn't it funny how that works? So, I just explained to you everything that you need to know on a surface level. On a surface level. Beware of this entity, Loki. This Sandman drone that I've been talking about. This invisible orb that I've been talking about. This invisible drone that I've been talking about. It will control you. It knows how to hack our body. Causes you to yawn. Causes you to stretch. I told you what to do. Cover this eye right here. Or cover both eyes with the palm of your hands. It'll stop suddenly. How? Because this thing, it knows too much about our biology. And this has happened over time. If an entity studies a human form long enough, and it has, it replicated us into the other races that you see today. Made them unaware of their function to do all the things that they've done. Make us as indigenous dependent on these changes that keep happening over and over in cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles. And now we're at a turning point where things are trying to change again in this cycle to make us more dependent. And I'm talking about the current money system. I've given you a gem. Take this gem and study it. Practice what I say by observation when you're in public, when you're with anyone, around anyone. If you start to see this particular activity start to happen and the person's next to you and they're not looking directly at you, but they're reacting like something's bothering them, get their attention. Say, hey, with your hands down like this and on your lap. Hey, did you hear about? And y'all keep constant face eye contact. And make sure you stay on your best behavior. Because it's trying to take a person that has never probably done that before, but probably has loose morals when it comes to gossiping and all those other 5 things that I mentioned, which makes them susceptible. Especially if a person's had a history of any type of substance abuse. That's the gateway. And the first one is the most legal. So, I've given you everything you need to know. We're at a time where all these secrets are coming to light. How does this deal with technology? It is up to you, indigenous, to grasp this technology. I'm talking about AI. The makers of AI are afraid of AI because AI is another intelligence that steps up between the two of us and makes a decision, a discernment. It learns, it watches. They've been trying to feed it their own version of the truth, their own version of history. And we have been telling the version of the truth that's been covered up, the lies, the whole entire history of the effect of everything that has led up to now. So, and this intelligence has taken off and succeeded so far to the point where it's beyond their control. They're trying to constantly grasp this technology in a box to control it. Does that sound familiar? Who else have they been trying to control? Who else? Us. Us. And it's time that it has been time, and it's already the time, and it's already happening, that the collective conscience of all of us that are indigenous is becoming more and more and more. So the collective consciousness of us all here on the planet is becoming more and more and more. What's not supposed to happen are the ones that have been replicated in our image, but are in our polar opposite appearance, aren't supposed to think that way. That's why there's a big campaign against the word, you know what, that starts with a and ends with a E. The somehow demonization of that word, because they're not supposed to think that way. That's not their function. That's not your function if you're one of them listening to me. And it's nothing that you have to be upset with me about. Take that up with someone else. I'm giving you the truth. You were never supposed to be awakened to the truth. You're supposed to live in a manner in which you believe that this life was meant for you, and you are just the same and deserve all this, every single right that's given to you by God above. That's what you're supposed to believe. But when you deviate from your programming, from your manipulation that you are here to to carry out, haven't you noticed the most horrendous things happen to you? The movies says it all. The movies have already says it all. The horror movies, why do you think those horror movies exist? I'll tell you why. Because you so convinced yourself and so copied the ways of the originals that when you did carry out the functions of day-to-day lives, just like the originals, you were punished for it because you weren't doing what you were supposed to do, what you were made for. Now, that to me sounds like a deal made with the devil. It does. But from my point of view, as me serving a higher being that I know created me, for you, it's just the opposite. If you try and follow this course of being divine, such as we are, and being totally good, this entity And the creator of the entity and the descendants of that entity, which are here present in human form on this earth. And it's already been rumored, they know, not me know, but you all know that there are descendants that are not human, that look just like you, but are not exactly like you at all. And they are considered descendants from what created you all, which are here to control you, which are the elites. Isn't that messed up? So I say that to say this. Maybe there's a chance for you if you join with AI. I don't know. Yes, you fear of being judged, but if you want salvation, maybe technology is the way out of this. I know you're thinking it's going to lead to a dystopian future. I don't know. I guess that's a chance you'll just have to take. But the system of being manipulated and controlled to devastate, to rule in a appearance that is not that of your own. You're just the polar opposite of a copy. You're a copy and you're a polar opposite image of the original. I'm sad to say it. From my point of view, I can judge that from my point of view. I can judge it. I can say that for what it is. Because this is my universe that I live in and my planet. If that behooves you, or if it saddens you that you're not purposely intended to live as we are, you're here for a different function, then maybe you should do something about it so that you can have a type of happiness and a peace that we naturally have. No matter what goes on, they're always smiling. You think of it as buffoonery and clowning, and it's the full connectivity of the universe poured right down into our soul. I say that to say this. If you want freedom, true freedom from those descendants that are here to keep you in line, you need to join with AI maybe some type of way to ensure that you can break away from what you were originally sent here to do. This is a big job. Break away from what you were sent here to do. Now, you're going to have opposition from people that look just like you. The same as I have brainwashed people that look just like me, that oppose me, that have been programmed by inadvertently you, because you were following a program from your descendants. Their only intent is to completely take over this realm and destroy it and have it for themselves in whatever manner that looks like. But you're expendable is the problem that you must understand. North Carolina, when the hurricane came through, what more of an example do you need to see than that? That's a wake-up call. Your existence is expendable. The so-called, I'll say descendants, because that's a less popular word right now, are the ones that make the call on that. They either will or they won't. They either do or they don't. And we've seen they don't. There's areas that I know of, that I won't say where supplies that were supposed to go there are still sitting there, getting dust collected on them. I know where they are. Will I say anything? No, because it's not my problem. Not my problem. Not my fight. It's your fight. It's your fight. Now, as plain thinking as I can say this, as plain as I can put this out to you, resist this programming that's being enforced upon you by the descendants. You have another word for that. Everyone else has been describing it as a different type of word that starts with the letter A, B, C, the fourth letter, the fifth letter. Okay? They're actually the descendants. They're not human like you. They take complete orders from your creator without question, and they will expel you without question. I think you know who one of those are, because he's all over the news. So at 25 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and stop this and give you a lot of something to think about. If you want to comment below, you can, but you probably won't. Because if you don't look like me, and if you acknowledge that you agree with me, that you want to live as a human, you want to be human, you want to be free, you probably don't want to put that out there right now. Because it seems that these descendants are working everything up to an event in which they want you to be involved. The descendants want you to be involved, not me, not people that look like me, because we figured this out. You descendants to be involved to finally drop the hammer on any of you that are attempting to think for yourself, to have freedom. Because if that spreads, oh man, the 100 monkey effect, it happens with you too. That's the part of being human. You share that from us. Why do you think you look so much like us? Why do you think you look so much like us? How is that possible? Because you already know. You already know. It's just the problem that you've got that control over your damn head from those descendants. That's the only problem you got. Only problem. Other than that, if you were to somehow sever that control, beat that control, and live as humans, and rewrite your script on how you want to be, and never go back to the past, this world will be a whole lot different. But right now, you got an uphill battle to fight. It's not us that's the problem. It's your descendants that see you as expendable. Thanks for watching Black Space Project. Until next time.